Today we will recap a drama movie, in which a young girl hugged by her friend in the church with a wooden toy. To know the movie's name, watch till the end. The movie begins with the Carlini family traveling to the city of Pescia. They stop their carriage ride, so that their daughter Benedetta can offer prayers before a statue of the Virgin Mary. Benedetta's song to the statue is cut short, when some bandits show up to rob them of their valuable possessions. They explain to the robbers that they are only traveling to Pescia, so that their young daughter can enroll in a convent. The thieves then steal a necklace from Benedetta's mother. Benedetta tells the bandit leader to give back her mother's necklace. She has faith that the Virgin Mother will protect her and she listens to her. The bandits start to mock her, but then the birds start to chirp and one of them poops in the bandit leader's eye. Amazed by Benedetta's actions, the bandit leader returns the necklace and leaves the family. We then see the nobles arriving in Pescia and leaving Benedetta to join the convent. In a meeting with Sister Felicita, her father promises yearly gifts in return for Benedetta receiving the necessary training to become Jesus' wife. Unfortunately, Felicita is not satisfied with the offer and requests additional funds from Benedetta's father. Giuliano tries to bargain for a lower price, but he is unsuccessful. He is left with no choice but to comply with Felicita's requests. With money in her pocket, Felicita takes Benedetta in. As Benedetta puts on her new nun robes, one of the nuns gives her a lecture about how it's better to feel uneasy about your body. She takes away the young girl's wooden statue and keeps it inside a cabinet. Then Sister Jacob displays her wooden finger, and tells her that she enjoys having wood on her body. Then Benedetta is taken to her room, where we see her attempting to sleep. Later that night, Benedetta wakes up and goes to pray in front of the Virgin's statue. It falls and Benedetta nearly gets crushed as she is praying. The young girl chooses to suck on the Virgin's statue's exposed wooden melons, rather than yell for her life. 18 years later, Benedetta is now a stunning young woman. In a play, she portrays Virgin Mary. She has a vision of Jesus while performing in a play. Benedetta meets Jesus, and he asks her to come and join him as his wife. She snaps out of it after another nun wakes her up. Later on that day, the Carlini family organized feast is held at the monastery. Father Secchi criticizes the unpopularity of their church as they eat. Father Ricordati agrees and says they should hope for a miracle. Benedetta's mother then questions her on why she was moving her feet, and Benedetta responds that she was having a vision of Jesus. As Benedetta's parents are getting ready to leave the convent, Bartolomea, a young woman, bursts through the gates. She begs for Benedetta's help while knelt before her. A man enters shortly after that and tries to drag her from the monastery. Then, Giuliano and Felicita intervene to stop the conflict. While Bartolomea asks Felicita for help, the man introduces himself as her father. Felicita declines Bartolomea's request to stay in the monastery because she looks poor. The girl is permitted after Benedetta offers to pay the dowry. Giuliano eventually pays for Bartolomea's accommodation and claims it is a gift for Benedetta. That night, Benedetta helps Bartolomea clean up and she accidentally touches her melon. When they go to the bathroom later, Benedetta learns that Bartolomea relieves herself in the streets with their cattle. She also discovers Bartolomea's injuries, and Bartolomea tells her that her father and brother take advantage of her every day and night. That's why she ran into the monastery. Benedetta tells her about how beautiful she is. The girls stare into each other's eyes and nearly kiss but are interrupted by another nun. Bartolomea gives Benedetta a quick kiss before he leaves for bed, and Benedetta prays to Mary before she goes to sleep, expressing doubt about her worthiness to provide guidance to Bartolomea. While in choir practice the next day, Bartolomea slides her fingers into Benedetta's sweet spot. This causes Benedetta to have a vision. Benedetta sees herself alone in the church being attacked by snakes. She asks Jesus to save her, and he arrives to slay the snakes. He then kisses Benedetta and asks her to stay with him. Soon after, Benedetta regains consciousness and notices that everyone in choir practice is looking at her. She quietly makes her way back to her spot and acts as if nothing happened. Bartolomea has an accident with another nun a few days later. She is punished by Benedetta by being forced to grab thread spools from a cauldron of boiling water. Felicita punishes Benedetta after learning about the incident by depriving her of food for a week, and forcing her to take care of Sister Jacob. While taking care of Sister Jacob, Benedetta discovers her sister's chest wounds. Jacob tells her that they make her closer to God. Benedetta, who is jealous, later takes a shiny plate and examines her melons to see if they are also wounded. That evening, Benedetta begins to feel extreme pain and suffers from a panic attack. Felicita calls the doctor after securing her to the bed. The doctor decides to sedate Benedetta whenever she has a panic attack. Bartolomea confesses her feelings for Benedetta and kisses her before going to bed. Benedetta then experiences another vision. This time, she is taken hostage by bandits who attempt to take advantage of her. She screams for Jesus to help her, and he arrives to save her. However, Benedetta learns that the man who saved him isn't Jesus, and he cuts her melon. She wakes up and has a panic attack, so the nuns sedate her. When she calms down later, Felicita tells Benedetta that Bartolomea will be her roommate and that she will look after her. Bartolomea discovers Benedetta's old clothes and wooden statue while organizing the cabinet. Since it's precious to her friend, Bartolomea places it on a table nearby. Later on in the night, Benedetta experiences another vision. This time, she encounters Jesus on the cross, and he commands her to remove her clothing. He also tells her to touch him, and Benedetta experiences severe pain when she does. Bartolomea wakes up after hearing Benedetta's screams. She sees her naked on the floor, and her hands are bleeding. On the following morning, Benedetta shows the nuns her wounds and claims Jesus is the one that gave them to her. Because the wounds resemble those that Jesus received during his crucifixion, the nuns conclude that it is the stigmata. Benedetta is questioned by Felicita about her injuries. She eventually makes a call to Secchi to check on Benedetta. Because there are no wounds on the forehead, where Jesus wore the crown of thorns, Felicita thinks it isn't the stigmata. She is cautioned by Secchi not to jump to conclusions. Benedetta leaves the room with Bartolomea, but she stops by the Virgin's statue to pray. If Benedetta becomes a saint, Felicita and Secchi speculate that they will become wealthy. Their conversation abruptly stops when they hear Benedetta yelling in pain outside. When they go outside to check, they find her on the floor with a wound on her forehead. She then speaks in a man's voice and declares a prophecy regarding the upcoming plague. Christina examines the scene and sees broken glass on the floor. Felicita is informed by her that Benedetta is lying. The rumors of Benedetta's miracle and sainthood have taken off like wildfire. While that happens, Christina talks to Felicita about Benedetta's lies. Felicita informs Christina that there is nothing they can do but accept the situation as it is, because she is unable to provide evidence to support her claims. Christina asks her mother why she is defending Benedetta. Later that night, Benedetta wakes Bartolomea and tells her that Jesus gave her his heart. She tells Bartolomea to touch it so she can feel how big it is. Being a peasant's child, Bartolomea doesn't know what the heart looks like, so she decides to play with Benedetta's melons instead. Secchi holds a ceremony the following day to celebrate Benedetta's elevation to sainthood. Felicita is asked by Secchi to hand over her position to Benedetta during that time. Christina tries to disagree with the choice, but Felicita quickly silences her, and she complies politely. Later that day, Felicita gives her room to Benedetta. Before she leaves, Felicita opens a hole in the wall to the other room. Shortly after that, when Benedetta and Bartolomea arrive, they are happy with their new accommodations. Later, Christina approaches Ricordati and requests that he hear her confession. Christina confesses that she saw Benedetta faking her stigmata. Later that evening, Bartolomea and Benedetta are unable to control their emotions. They hug each other, but Benedetta seems unsatisfied with Bartolomea's short fingers. The following day, Ricordati asks Christina to make her allegations about Benedetta in front of everyone during the meal. Following her disclosure, Felicita is asked to confirm it by Ricordati, but she refutes her daughter's claims. In the end, Benedetta forces Christina to whip herself in front of everyone. One night, Benedetta's wooden statue is transformed by Bartolomea into a pleasure rod, and she invites her to try it. While the two women play with the wooden toy, Felicita watches them through the hole in the wall. After playing, Bartolomea notices a bright red glow from the window. Everyone goes outside and sees a red comet in the sky. Moments later, they see Christina on top of the church. Despite her best efforts, Felicita is unable to stop her daughter from killing herself. Christina's soul is not blessed by Benedetta, thanks to Felicita. Felicita attacks Benedetta when she continues to insist. Felicita departs the monastery later that evening to travel to Florence. Benedetta, who is upset by Felicita's behavior, tries to relax by hugging Bartolomea. Unfortunately, Bartolomea isn't in the mood because she's afraid of what might happen next. In the end, Benedetta decides to do it herself. Sometime later, Felicita arrives in Florence, a city devastated by the plague. She encounters head priest Alfonso and informs him of Benedetta's lies. Later that evening, a procession is held in Pescia. Benedetta then claims that she was promised by God that he would spare Pescia from the plague. While the townspeople celebrate their salvation, Benedetta slowly approaches one of the city guards. She gives him an order to lock the city gates and stop anyone from entering or leaving the city. A few days later, Felicita and Alfonso find Pescia under lockdown when they arrive there. Alfonso, who holds a position of authority in the church, forces Secchi to let them into the city. Alfonso holds a trial the following day to reveal Benedetta's fabrications. Felicita, who is present as a witness, describes the wooden toy Benedetta and Bartolomea played with to everyone. Alfonso questions Bartolomea about her relationship with Benedetta, but she denies it. To loosen Bartolomea's lips, Alfonso has her tortured. Bartolomea betrays Benedetta. She reveals the location of the wooden toy to Alfonso, and he orders Benedetta's imprisonment. Alfonso finds out shortly after that Felicita has contracted the plague. He orders his servant to isolate the woman and burn everything she touched. Bartolomea is expelled from the monastery in the meantime by the nuns. Bartolomea steals some clothing outside before fleeing. Later on in the evening, Benedetta pays a sick Felicita a visit. They discuss Christina's soul being in hell. After a while, Benedetta whispers something in Felicita's ears. The guards bring Benedetta to the town square the following day. Bartolomea calls her name as she passes by and begs for forgiveness for betraying her. Alfonso gives Benedetta one final opportunity to confess her lies before they begin the execution. Benedetta predicts that Pescia will die of the plague rather than owning up to her lies. She successfully pins the fault on Alfonso with the help of Felicita. The people start getting out of control as the guards bring Benedetta to the stake. Chaos breaks out as the executioner lights the stake, and people fight the guards to free Benedetta. Alfonso, who is terrified for his life, tries to flee but is caught. After one final encounter with Benedetta, the people rip him apart, and he dies. Benedetta and Bartolomea watch Felicita jump into the blazing stake as they depart. Then we see Benedetta and Bartolomea in an abandoned home wearing their birthday attire. Benedetta decides to return to Pescia, but Bartolomea tries to stop her. Despite her efforts, Bartolomea fails to convince her lover to stay. Benedetta leaves for Pescia without looking back at the angry Bartolomea. Benedetta's attempt to influence the church is unsuccessful, and she is ultimately imprisoned for her lies. So this was the story of the 2021 film Benedetta. If you liked the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.